Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Seth and Beth podcast. As always, I'm here with my lovely Beth. How are you, darling?
So good, but I feel like my hair's good.
Look at this stunning Aussie to my left. This is James Day.
Got a kangaroo.
Is this James Day photography?
James Day. That'll do.
And that's our show. James, thank you for coming here. To think you flew all the way from Australia to sit on this podcast. I can't believe it. Thank you so much.
I literally just flew in and I leave in like 40 minutes.
Yeah, we'll have to hustle through this.
For an hour.
So no time to discuss your history, your awesomeness, everything you're doing. But I'm certainly glad. I'm glad to have you on. Tell me this. What is your... So I worship the Australian accent, and Beth does too. I mean,
Do you want to hear it?
Well, I'm here, and we're going to hear it the whole damn podcast. But what does your American accent sound like, James?
You know, like I've been practicing my American accent for like at least like 10 seconds now. But I don't know. It's not that great, is it?
Now, Beth, what is your Australian accent sound like?
Hi, mate. I love kangaroos and koalas.
What was that?
So I love the Australian accent. That what when they say, "What the fuck is this?" But anyway, thanks for coming. So you've been a photographer for how long? About 20 minutes. Yeah,
18 actually.
What an illustrious career you've had in such a
The last 18
short
minutes.
amount of time.
Well,
I don't think we've got a single serious answer out of this. Is a real show, James. So tell me. So wait, you're from Australia. What town? Melbourne. It's always Melbourne.
Melbourne. No, I live in a town called Woonona.
Woonona.
That's cute.
And it's about an hour south of Sydney.
How many weddings have you photographed? That's your priority, right?
I haven't shot one yet. Dude, I've only had 19 minutes now.
There's only so much you can do in 18 minutes.
Are you
No, so I've shot about 700 weddings
Oh
across
my god!
maybe, well, when was it? I think I shot my first wedding at like 2002 maybe.
I didn't know it was that
That's
I
many.
didn't know it was that many.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sweet.
And they haven't
You must
stopped
be
me yet.
you must be older than you look.
I turned 35
What?
a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, so wait, you started? Did you even go to college?
Straight out of, no, it's like literally straight out of high school.
Oh, how'd you
That's
get your
all I've
first
done.
gigs?
First wedding that I photographed was for the receptionist at the local dentist.
Oh.
And she was like, "Hey, you take photos, don't you?" And yeah, I did. And I
For
was
like
cheap.
18 minutes.
And I was cheap. And that's how that sort of came about. And then, P.S. I still have nuts stuck in my teeth.
Speaking of dentist.
So he had a bite just right before before the podcast. We should just have him during the podcast. Then it won't be as
Then
awkward.
it would make more sense.
Make more sense.
So, yeah, so then it turned out that they knew everyone and everyone knew them. And so,
The dentist?
yeah.
Wow.
So then she married a guy who was the local bank manager. So between them,
Holy moly.
yeah. So then that sort of set me up pretty
I guess
quick.
that does make sense, right? Everyone goes to a dentist.
Everyone goes to the bank.
Everyone goes to the bank.
What is the
Holy networking.
maybe broad question? What is the Australian wedding photography? What is it like down there? I'm assuming very similar to America, but like, what are the big differences?
It's a great question. Well, people often comment, especially Americans often comment that our weddings are really crazy.
Yeah.
So
They take their pants off. I see that.
that's
That's
standard.
Canada, I thought.
That's
standard?
standard. You have to.
Yeah.
You have to take your
Okay.
pants off?
There's a song.
Should
called
we take
Eagle.
our pants off?
Please.
Not quite yet, Beth. He's still getting over the nut,
Oh, okay.
the nuts and
I see what you're doing there.
The nuts that you gave me are still stuck. I think it's nuts, not something else.
keep going.
Yeah. So there's a song that comes on called Eagle Rock, and when that song comes on,
Eagle?
Eagle Rock, you know the
Okay.
Eagle Rock?
No, I haven't heard of it.
We can sing it together later.
Okay.
So when that song comes on, all the guys get in a huddle, drop their pants, and dance together, while a few people look on and
In horror?
in horror. The grandparents,
Oh, the
because they've never
horror.
seen it. Yeah, but it's pretty funny when you've got the parents of the bride or groom or whatever.
But
Or
you
the
know
dad,
it's
not the
coming.
mum.
Like
Yeah.
Eagle Rock is coming.
Eagle Rock, pants down.
So I guess, is that sort of like Thunder Hour? Is that what it's called?
Should you be telling us about this?
Beth is Beth, I got here. Beth, here's your. It's thunder. It's thunderstruck. Beth,
Thunderstruck?
Thunder Hour.
Thunder Hour?
You know Thunderstruck, right?
Yeah.
From ACDC. They're Australian. ACDC.
Apparently.
think one of them
I
is.
feel like you guys know more about Australia than I do. You're like
Right.
telling me about all these Australian people. I'm like,
Well, it's just so in American weddings, maybe you've seen this. Is the new thing now of these young kids, these young whippersnappers, is they play Thunderstruck, the Thunder song, and then they all drink. Every time they say thunder, they drink. It's just like a reason to like
So you
start
get in a
chugging beer.
circle.
You get in a circle.
Thunder, drink. Thunder,
Yeah.
drink. And you just go around. And sometimes there's pointing. Like, no, you drink. And now you drink.
Have you
and
seen me
keep
karaoke
drinking.
before? Because that's my song, actually, Thunderstruck. But we can sing that too.
please.
Is the market in Australia, like in terms of number of photographers, is it crazy like the States? There's just like a zillion of them. Is it?
Yeah. I'd say it's probably pretty similar. I mean, we're all quite spread out though. Like, I guess that's kind of similar here. Like, Australia's a massive country, so I always joke that people might try and compliment me as well, and they'll say, oh, you're the best photographer, blah blah blah, and I'm like, yeah, of my street, and I live in a small street. Like, there's 1,000 photographers who probably live within, a stone's throw away.
It was like a straight, like a province or a state or
Sorry, street.
a straight.
Street.
Oh, a street.
Street. Best photographer in my street.
Street.
Beth was sniffing
But
some.
even then, I'm not sure because there's some great photographers even
Beth
in
was-
those like 10 houses.
Beth was sniffing some glue before the podcast, so she's a little
Good.
Good.
fun. What do you say? Thunders.
Thunder hour.
Thunder hour.
I think I was getting power hour and thunderstruck confused.
Thunder hour.
It's just thunder
and,
hour.
And then you had to enunciate the word street.
3 times.
Should I just like keep the American accent going on here so you guys can understand me?
Apparently.
Yeah, totally.
My bad.
So Beth, I love her to death because she has this unique quality that, like, when like you and I might double take or say something, we might think it in our head, like, I wonder what he just said, or could it be? But she's just like, did you just say streef? It just comes out, and so oh my god. Anyway, so 700 weddings. That's absurd.
Stupid, isn't it?
How many do you end up doing a year?
So last year was 50. And then
That's a lot.
This year, yeah, it was just a few too many. So this year, I think I've got about 42.
Do you hire out
And
your
I'm
edits?
happy. Yes.
Yeah.
So I use Freedom Edits.
Freedom edits.
Freedom Edits.
And then
Freedom Edits.
you do, obviously you partner with album companies to get your clients' albums.
Yeah. So Vision Art, who make my books, have brought me out to hang out at their booth and chat to people and help them.
I don't know anything about them. Tell me about them.
Well, firstly, they've become really good friends. Like, I like doing business with friends, and it's awesome that, I can send Kyle a message and be like, dude, I've got an idea. And he's like, hit me, let's make it happen. So they actually flew out to Australia just over a year ago, Kyle and Priscilla, to hand deliver what could have been maybe a world first type of wedding album, which was really fun. Like, I came up with an idea and they were like, all right, we can do better than that again, and came up with like an awesome idea. And this will kind of give you an idea of who Vision Art is without a sales pitch. But basically, I came up with the idea where I was photographing a wedding where the bride was visually impaired and in fact had zero usable vision. So she could only just see, some shapes and shadows.
So not like blind.
Yes, but when there's, she sort of had 2 or 3% vision where so for example, we've got a light up here. She would just be able to see that there is some sort of light source coming from that.
And then
it's
darkness everywhere else? Or?
Yeah, and then darkness. So she wouldn't be able to tell what that was, whether it was the sun, whether it was, whatever. Who knows, right? And in fact, that was quite a challenge for her because it could become quite uncomfortable just having these bright lights. And I think she's actually, from what I understand, looking forward to the last couple of cent actually disappearing.
Going away?
Yeah, because it's quite painful and
Oh.
uncomfortable. But basically, that's where she's at. And I mean, when we photograph a wedding, I feel like, we talk about taking a photo. And I think that if we're not careful, we are actually taking moments away from people if we're not offering a great experience. So when I was asked to photograph her wedding, I really got thinking, like, what can we do for Steph and Rob, who she was marrying, but but mainly Steph in this situation,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like, we're going to be taking moments where we're saying, hey, come with us, or stop for a moment. And what are we going to give her? What's she going to have to enjoy after? So those moments had to be super, super powerful. But also we needed to give her something to remind her of that powerful moment. So I went to the guys at Vision Art and I'm like, I want to do something that's never been done before. I don't even know exactly what this looks like, but I want to create a sensory album for her. And so what we ended up doing firstly was, with the experience, I made sure that when we were, say, photographing family photos, I wanted her to be really aware of who was there with her. And I wanted to connect those people in a way that wouldn't have happened if I wasn't there. So I wasn't taking a photo, I was actually inviting them into a moment.
Wow.
So I got different materials and scents, and basically would have the material would be soaked in different types of essential oils that had different smells. And then I would link those materials to the moment. So say if we're doing family photos, then the different people in that photo would hand that material between them, smell it, stop, take a moment, share what maybe their family was known for as a family. Like, you know, when you guys think of who you are as a family, what do you think of? Like, yell it out, tell Steph, remind Steph. So just to sort of bind these people together in this moment. And then, so that was step one. And then obviously I wanted to give them something at the other end. So we actually put together an album where they were able to, well, firstly, when she opened the album, like each spread, the audio of those moments were playing. So the things that were said between those people. And then the material was mounted into the spread as well as the scent corresponding to that moment. But also we worked with a company called Vision Australia, who, well, not a company, they're like a charity organisation in Australia where they printed like tactile prints where you could actually run your hands over the print and be taken back to that moment. And
There was like Braille.
basically it was a Braille photograph, but it wasn't Braille as in like the dots as such, but there was raised parts of the image. So, you know, she could run her hand over, because let's just say if we were trying to describe to her the landscape that she was being photographed in, like, how do you do that? But if she could actually run her hands over and go, okay, so the mountains were here in relation to where we were, and there was that tree behind us, and she could feel all of those things. And it was, and so basically I went to Vision Art and they were like, let's do it. Let's make it happen. So they ended up mounting like audio, like speakers into each spread that were wirelessly chargeable, so that even when the batteries in there die, you can just recharge them, which is amazing.
Amazing.
And then we had all of the different things that I mentioned, the tactile prints. And basically the reason why I went with Vision Art is because I always have these crazy, weird ideas and they just go, cool, let's make it happen. Like I went down there this morning to check out the booth, which is sort of where I'm hanging out over the next couple of days. And there's all these little reminders of all of the things that I love about them, because, you know, I went to them recently and I was like, hey, I want a leather that's different to what you guys have got. And I explained it to them, and there it was, this new leather that they've made just for me because I wanted something custom. And there's not
What
many,
was it? Like what?
Baby seal.
actually,
Actually.
no, they do have a new kind of material down there that I'm going to get you guys to come down at some point and I want you to guess what it is. But all I'm going to tell you is that this album is covered in a tropical fruit.
Oh, it's not. Yeah, this is the new thing, like non-leather leather.
Yeah, and it's
Tropical fruit.
A tropical
fruit.
Wow.
You'll have to come down and see if you can
Like
work
I'm
it out.
dying to stop by and see
What
these
about
guys.
like a mango? Doesn't it have like a...
Think of something with a little bit more texture, like more fibrous kind of tropical fruit.
We'll have to look at it.
But I'm not going to give it away right now. You have to come down and have a look.
Now, this is not... Beth, can you believe this story? Have you seen the video? Did I show you this video?
Yeah.
The story of all
She hasn't
this.
seen it. She has no idea. She's making it up.
No. I did. Cause didn't...
Had a bride. She was dressed in white.
No, like I saw it all. And I thought maybe even you like had to like edit something for James once or something.
Well, that was a
after
different... that was for some of your Sony talks, right? It was Sony? Uh-oh.
Yeah.
You're with Sony.
I shoot with Sony, and I was basically putting together a little promo video, and I have no idea about video, and so I was like, dude, help me edit this thing together.
Yeah, that was easy, but that wasn't this video, Beth.
No, different
But
thing.
this is not...
I totally
so
do that.
You'll have to watch... I'm sure... So look, I scour Facebook. I see these and I say, hey, Beth, come swing by here. While she's doing all the work to power our family with the kids and the laundry and the food and everything else, I'm just, on Facebook dicking around. But I did show her the video, and I have to show it to you again. But this is not your first claim to fame, right? You did another project with Vision Art or a previous album coming about this.
That was a previous album comedy before I knew Vision Art existed.
Can you bring it up?
Yeah, of course.
Tell Beth about this one.
This is where we made the album on the same day as the wedding. That was a lot of fun. So basically, firstly, these like little projects, they're less like stunts and more just like, how can I love on people that I love? And so firstly, Steph, I actually went to school with Steph, like the lady who we were just talking about, who has her vision impairment. So it was sort of like, what can we do to be awesome for Steph, right? And then for this other one where we did a wedding album on the same day, that was so my wife, Kath, she has an identical twin named Jane, and she was marrying a wedding photographer.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, this is my sister-in-law and, brother-in-law, future brother-in-law at this point. Like, what can I do that would just make them feel so freaking loved? Like, let's go all out. And that was sort of my wedding gift, where I basically just put together a team of people and said, help me give them a finished product by the time they leave their wedding. So we handed them their wedding album as they drove off, or just before they drove off.
Wow.
And all the finished files. So we set up like a little, basically a full lab in the local general store. We're in the middle of nowhere, no phone reception.
Local general store.
Yeah. So we had to bribe the shop owner to stay open because we needed somewhere that was like accessible.
Remote? Yeah.
Because we were in the middle of nowhere. It was accessible, but they would usually close by like 4 p.m. or something on a Saturday afternoon. So we're like, how much to stay open like all night? So we set up literally like, we're talking like a little general store where you go up to the place and like, can I have one of those 2-cent lollies and one of those 2-cent lollies? And like you get a bag. So like literally when I went to visit, they're all sitting there, like the team are sitting there with like the white paper bags filled with like, the different chocolates and lollies and whatever that you get from like a little like a milk bar. I'm trying to think what you guys would call it, but it's like
I just like hearing you say lolly.
Oh, I knew
like
Beth would be
lolly.
melting hearing that lolly.
Yeah.
So that was such good fun.
How'd you get it done? So you started editing during dancing, or
pretty much
you got to call and edit real quick?
So we started editing probably like, well, the team of people who we had started doing things within. Well, basically, they were set up before I even started shooting. We had people running memory cards back and forth, and then they would edit like as we were going, and then building the album, printing the pages and stuff as we were going for it to be finally finished. I think we got up to about half an hour before I finished shooting. Wow. So obviously we couldn't do it to like the very last second. And yeah, we gave them all of the finished digital files. The funny thing is though, I don't think I've ever actually seen their wedding photos. Like, think of how weird that is, because it was just all done for me.
Yeah.
And like, I literally just like at the end of the night, I'm like, here you go. Like, here's your, everything. And I don't think I've ever actually had a need to like
go back and look through them. Right.
Yeah. Which is just such a bizarre concept.
I remember the look on their faces when obviously the shock. When they opened a book, Beth, and it's real late, right? Midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning.
No, it was a little earlier than that, but yeah, it was like, I think they finished about 10 or 11.
Oh, okay.
But yeah,
you could just tell it's late. They've just had a wedding, and like they did not know this is coming.
I remember, so Tim King, who I asked him to come out and help me second shoot. So Tim came out because I was like, I need someone as crazy as I am who will get on board with this. And I was like, who else but Tim King, right? Like, he is the king of just doing everything over the top. Yeah. And so I remember, Michael, who was the groom, he just kept saying, how? And I just replied with, don't ask questions, just enjoy. So whenever I talk to Tim, he always reminds me of that, like, I'm talking to him and just be like, don't ask questions. Just enjoy. Because I apparently just kept saying that.
That's so epic.
So what have you taken out of 700 weddings? Like, what do you love about it?
I've taken some hip problems, a few extra kilos. Actually, quite a few extra kilos. Oh, man.
That's a lot, though.
Sore back.
How's your knees?
Shoulders.
Yes.
Yeah.
My knees aren't that great.
I mean, you must have taken 10 million photos.
per wedding, I think. Seriously, man, it's just too
Right.
easy. 20 frames a second, you know. Actually, the funniest thing with that same day wedding album, I remember like I hadn't ever really had anything out there before like that got attention.
Yeah.
And then I was on that Frono's photo.
Yeah,
It's
Jared.
like, this guy's ruined wedding photography. Of course, you're gonna get a few good shots if you take this many photos, because I shared how many photos I took, and I took because I was so nervous about the wedding.
How many did you take
And he
that
like
day?
fully hammered me on his podcast
He did.
because I was like, yeah, I was this idiot who shot
How many did you take?
16,000 photos between myself and Tim. So it was we took a lot of photos, but we were also covering, like, it was a big day. You can imagine, like, if
Yeah.
you're shooting a family member's wedding, I was staying in the same house as where, you know, the guys were getting ready and all that kind of stuff. So I was photographing from the moment I woke up till.
We take 10 standard, and if it's an Indian wedding, it's easily 15. So
Yeah.
I don't think that's
It
that
can
crazy
happen.
at all. Yeah.
One
was-
day.
But it was really interesting after, because I remember just saying, like, you know, you get all these notifications, all of these different places, like, this guy's ruined wedding photography forever.
What?
Now everyone's going to expect this. And I was like, no, actually, I just made a gift for a family member. I thought it'd be fun.
How dare you?
So it's just funny, like, that it got all this
Wow, I
attention.
can't
and I'm
believe
like,
I
was
know
just having
it.
some fun, guys.
Yeah, whoa, chill, bro.
Pretty much.
Just doing something nice here.
Well, you know, they need content too, Beth. So they just comment on
Why they
everything.
gotta be haters though, right? Why not
all right.
That's
congratulate
incredible.
them?
You guys are going to be, after this, like, complaining about me because I had nuts stuck in my teeth. Like, you got to find
Shows up
content.
with nuts
somewhere.
in his teeth.
Join James and his nuts
Oh my!
slathering around. So how long can you do this? Gosh, you're younger than us. Like my knee problems. How long do you want to be a wedding photographer? Or what are things you? Yeah, and on a caveat is, what do you do when you're not photographing?
Yeah. I could get really naughty with that, but I won't. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, you guys got naughty before, I think, surely. No, so look, I'm pretty keen to do this for a while longer yet. Like, I'm still a pretty crap photographer. Like, I'm pretty keen to become a better photographer as time goes on. So there's still a lot of room for me to, you know, grow and enjoy what I'm doing. I think right now, if we're just speaking completely candidly, I'm going to pretend that there's nothing recording, there's no cameras, there's no nothing. I've got to start putting my health first, because I think for too long, if we're talking like, you know, what have I actually gotten out of shooting for, you know, 700 weddings across whatever 15, 16 years, whatever it's been, I can't count. That was really subtle. I like that little cough.
So I envision people like listening in their car and just like coughing right into the mic. When they do it on other podcasts, I get upset. But no, I know what you're thinking.
Sorry. Yeah, I've got to
like-
look after myself.
Yeah, I mean, we only do 15, and it's taxing. I can't imagine. We have friends who do 40 or 50.
I think for me, it's not been so much that shooting that many weddings has been taxing. I think it's been more that my focus has been so much on my business and photography and growing that, and not enough on just looking after myself. So, you know, speaking to friends, I'm going to tell you that my focus over the next little while is actually, I've got to get healthy. Because if I'm going to continue to do this and do a good job of it and whatever, that's what's going to have to happen.
You know what?
So-
Like that kind of honesty relates to so many people, because I know that like even other people and whatever field that they're in, you know, like you just get so consumed over the years on like just you
Well,
know,
it's a little dumb stuff
kicking
like
ass and whatever you're doing, that you do sometimes like forget, like, oh my gosh, like I've got to get myself in shape. Like, what am I eating? How much am I sleeping? How much am I
Oh,
exercising?
Beth, I was gonna say it's like the dumb stuff of like, how long am I sitting in a chair? Like literally,
Totally.
I'm driving a car so much. I'm like, I got to get a different wallet because this shifts my. We once had a buddy. He's like, I can't use this huge wallet anymore because it shifts my hips when I'm like, what a dork. Who would say that? Sure enough, now I'm like, I got to get a different wallet.
And it adds up. Like,
It adds up,
If you do
yeah.
that once in a while, cool, no problems. But if you keep doing the same silly things over and over again, whether it's just eating poorly, in my sake, it's just I've not exercised, not eaten as well as I should. And so at the moment, I'm like, I've got all these projects and ideas I want to get started, but I'm like within the business, but I've given myself permission just not to do them. Mm-hmm. It's like, you know what? Actually, I'm going to go for a swim. I'm going to go shopping to get myself some healthy food rather than try and max out on the amount of work that I should get done and then have to make sacrifices elsewhere, which is usually going to be your health. And I feel like I'm at a point where it's like, this is my last shot. Like, you know, I'm 35. If I don't start fixing those things up now, number one, I'm going to give my little boy, we've got an 18-month-old Jacob, I'm going to give him some really bad things to follow if I'm not careful. And, or, you know, he can grow up going, okay, well, you get up, you exercise, you eat well, you don't eat crap, you know? And I, like, as I said it, I feel like I'm at this point where it's like, I want to keep shooting and I want to keep enjoying it. Now's the time to turn it around. And like, honestly, you know, there's all these people here for WPPI wondering how they're going to become a better photographer, going to all these workshops. And it's like, I think the secret is look after yourself, probably spend less time at conferences and like in classes and things like that. Get out and enjoy life. And those experiences that you'll gain and that health that you'll have, that will attract people.
Emotional health.
Yeah. And you'll do better work. More people will want to be around you because you've got energy and life and vitality. And so that's where I'm at the moment, is like, that's how I'll become a better photographer, is by looking after myself better. And my clients will gain, my little boy will benefit, I will benefit, my wife, my family, my friends. We're all, you know, all the different things that I'm involved in, they'll all benefit. So yeah, I'm sort of at a point where I'm like frustrated at myself that it's taken me this long to go, actually, I have to come before my business.
What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, we've done a decade of putting our business in front of some things, and I do think having a child, at least for us, definitely changes things. Like, you know, we're a little older. Beth will turn 39. I just turned 39, and
So
I know a little older. But I mean, like, our 18-month-old is now turning 10 this April. So Beth and I were both reflecting on how maybe shocking that is. Even as photographers, I still think I didn't take enough pictures, even though we took millions. Yeah. And they're all over our home. And so actually, Andrew Funderburg from Fundy challenged us to make family yearly albums, which has been on my mind for a while. So it's maybe something I can take away from this conference. But, you know, we actually just moved out of a big city of Columbus, Ohio, 2 million people. We moved to Akron, which also has a good number of folks, but we moved from like a very small plot of land to like 2 acres of just so good. Settled. Like, I tell people the sun sets in the backyard and the kids and the dog just like frolic through the field a bit. But, you know, it's funny is I don't know if Beth didn't disagree with me, but we brought up the idea that I kind of feel more content now, like moving out of this big city. And Beth brought up, well, do I mean content by like...
I know what you mean now, though.
Balance. Is it balance?
Yeah.
As well?
Yeah, like I didn't want to mean content like I'm fine where we're at in life and I don't want to grow, but more of like I'd like to be a little more content with the seconds I have right now and like really enjoy. So we have another child. You'll probably learn this is like when you grow your family is like now once you have one pass at it with the older kid, now the second one, like our 6-year-old is like, I'm actually happy. He still comes and jumps in bed with us at night. Sometimes we get to cuddle him. Then I realize that we still have, we can make it right the second time with the little guy.
Make it better.
Better. Well, not right. Of course, not right. I mean, we did great. Our children are happy and we're just tremendously happy. But so we're very content. So I'm kind of with you. I'm falling in that line of like, I better start. That's it, Beth. It's just putting my mindset maybe ahead of my business, you know. So we don't
and let those things guide your business rather than the other way around. Like, you know, if you want to be more active, like then bring that into your business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you don't want to be like, if you want to be around on the weekends because your kids are doing whatever it is, like, so for us, this will be our last WPPI for a long time. Because I want to be around. I want my little boy to have like local friends where he has his sleepover on Saturday. Like, this is great, traveling, meeting people and whatever. But, like, that's maybe not what I want for our family, and what I want for my little boy to grow up with. Like, I want him to have more stability. Like, because I know when I was a kid, I grew up with a dad who was mega sick. He passed away when I was 14, but he was really sick, and we were in and out of hospitals traveling. Like, he'd have to, we'd have to fly up to Brisbane, which is like an hour flight. And then, we might be there for 3 months while he recovered from a transplant. Like, he had one of the world's first liver transplants, actually.
Wow.
But so my childhood was pretty messy. I was in and out of school, and it meant that, like, academically, I'm not great, but emotionally, I'm pretty in touch. And so I brought that into my photography. So I gained there, like, growing up with a dad who was very, very ill, made you really stop and appreciate the moments you had.
Hell yeah.
And working out ways that I could help hold on to those moments. And so photography became a big thing for me. But I know I've learned from that and gone, okay, we're going to, I don't want you to miss a day of school because daddy needs to go to a conference, and I don't want to go by myself without them. So I'm kind of done with the travel, dude.
What photographers really inspired you the past so many years, or you looked up to?
I really look up to a photographer that probably no one listening would ever have heard of, and that's amazing. His name's Simon James, and he's a guy who I learnt from early days. And I would say for a while there, he was like a rock star photographer, like in Australia for a while. But now his focus is on him, his health, but mainly his kids. He's just like, look, I want to be the best flipping dad ever. And I want to be healthy. I want to be happy. I want to be around. I want to be present. And so he's always been a few steps ahead of me in life. And so he's sort of, like, I've stayed in touch with him regularly. Like, if I ever have like a challenge in front of me, business-wise or personally, I'm like, Simon, you've been here, help.
Yeah.
And he'll say, Jimmy, he always calls me Jimmy, don't make the same mistakes I did. I've been there. This is what you need to do now. These are the changes you need to make. And so people like Simon have probably inspired me more than, I guess, the people I see on the internet or follow on Instagram or whatever. Like having those people who are just a step ahead, who can look at you and your situation personally and go, hey, you're at risk of making some bad decisions. Let's sort you out.
Like life decisions.
Yeah, and business or, whatever it is, that balance.
I don't think I knew getting into photography and having my own business was going to be this deep, Beth, where we now, after 10 years, we talk about like more business and less lighting, like I've developed a little bit of a mentorship program that I'm pretty proud of. I love doing it, but it has nothing to do with taking pictures at all. It has like I don't care what camera you have. I don't even care how good the photos are.
You can watch a YouTube video for that.
Yeah. And so I remember foolishly thinking when I first started, like I would see a great photo from Jerry Giannis or someone very famous, and I would thought, what are the settings of that photo? As opposed to like, what are the personal connections he made to get that photo with the client, and how is his mental health in running a business? That's what I'm more concerned about nowadays. It seems like you're kind of the same way, right?
Absolutely, and I think that while the lighting and the posing and all that is incredibly important, I think that the connection that you have and the connection that they have with each other is always going to be one of the most valuable things that you can help bring out. So I always say to my couples, this photo I'm going to take for you, it's going to be a window back to this moment. So if in this moment you feel uncomfortable, you don't feel loved, you don't feel cared for, you might really need to go to the bathroom, whatever it is, we got to sort all of this stuff out before we take this photo.
Wow.
So, and because it's pretty crazy. Like we're literally taking a moment and going, I'm going to give you the strongest reminder of what it felt like to be here. And if it's lit well, great. If it's posed well, awesome. But if it felt horrible to be in that moment, if it doesn't take you back somewhere where take you through a window that you want to climb back through, what's the point?
Yeah, because that feeling is what you're going to remember forever.
Exactly. And that's why people's Facebook profiles, they're usually not professional photos. They're usually like from a moment where someone felt awesome.
Yeah.
And I think that's something as photographers that we need to really double down on that, and we need to go.
That's a good point. Like, even when we had that album reveal just the other day with Murphy and Austin, like it was this beautiful photo of Austin, but he couldn't even think about how beautiful the photo was. It was just like, I was so uncomfortable in that picture. That's all he could think
didn't like
about.
it.
He didn't like, because
This
just
is
like what
blowing
you were
my-
saying.
This is blowing my mind now because as you were talking, I just realized that you had recently had a photo that basically just like went all over the world, right? The one of that gal crying.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about it. I don't know about it.
So it's funny. It's exactly everything he's saying, because I wouldn't call it a very standard wedding photo. Like, you wouldn't know what kind of dress she's wearing. The background, which is usually what clients think about most, is like, well, where are we taking these photos?
Doesn't matter.
And I always say it doesn't matter, but they're more concerned about. So there is no background. It's just a very tight photo, and it's this stunning photo where the groom's head is turned because they're kind of hugging. The sun's hitting her like a boss, and the tears rolling down her eye. Am I right, James?
Yeah.
Tell me about this moment, because I don't know if Beth's heard this story either, or
I
our
don't.
listeners. But
So Rosalind and Adrian is the couple. So Rosalind was the bride who had a tear running down her face, and it was a bit of a moment where it sort of hit me that, you know what, I wasn't really doing what I wanted to do for them, and I was in that incredible place. Like, the location was gorgeous, the sunset was just magic, and I was there doing all of these like wide angle shots where I was like yelling at them from 30 meters away, saying, you know, walk one more step to your left, and you know, whatever it was, right? Like, it wouldn't have felt great to be in that moment. And I just went, stop. Guys, come back. Come over here. And because in this moment I had this like guilt where I'm like, I'm literally like, sure, I'm taking a pretty picture. What's the worth? What's the point? Is this going to be my legacy, that I knew how to put people in a pretty location? Like, what's the point? I don't want to be like, that's not me. That's not what I want to be known for. That's not what I want. Those aren't the visions I want to be going through my mind as I take my last breath. Like, I want to be someone who is like, I will help you love harder than you've ever loved, to notice, to be appreciative, and to to feel stuff that you've never felt before. I want to bring people into that. And so I just said, guys, come on in, come right up here. And we were standing like this far away from each other, the three of us. And I was like, Adrian, there's a lot of people on the planet. Like, this isn't word for word what I said, but it was basically like, there's a lot of people out there, dude. And you chose Rosalind. Why? And I was like, don't tell me the answer. The answer's not for me. The answer's for her. I said, can you just tell her what it is about her that made you choose her out of the billions of people on the planet? And then he just whispered something in her ear. Don't know. Not mine to know. And then she just started bawling. And it was just such a simple moment, but it seemed to capture people's attentions. But what I learned from that moment was something really sunk in that I learned from a guy, Jesh DeRox. Jesh DeRox. He's an American photographer, and he's more of a you can't put him in a box. You got to look him up. JESH space DE space ROX. Look him up. But he once taught me, he's like, to move others, you first need to be moved. And so in that moment, I had tears running down my face because I just felt like I've let you down. Mm-hmm. And then witnessing all of this, like literally there was tears streaming down my face as there were tears streaming down her face. And I realized I was moved, and then I showed people the visual evidence of the moment, and then others were moved. And when we talk about others, like, it has hundreds and hundreds of thousands. I think it's almost 500,000 likes on Facebook, that photo, which is just insanity. Yeah. And it's not the world's best photo, and it's not a photo you would print big and put on your wall. But it's my hope that those little moments that I try and invite people into actually draw them closer, and that will be so much more valuable than the hero shot.
What got you to this like point where like it's not about like the huge, amazing, wide, epic shots, but it's about the emotion. Like, what advice? What has led you to this like realization?
Life, the fact that I grew up how I did, the fact that I've had a pretty weird kind of life and a lot of emotion, and I'm just realizing like I'm giving other people what I want myself.
Yeah.
I think a lot of young photographers unfortunately have to try and keep up with the Joneses when it comes to those gorgeous wide angle shots and those baby photos, which were now all the same. You got copycats of. That was how I had to get into this. It definitely took me many, many years to realize a notion like this. So, you know,
Can I just add, there's nothing wrong with the wide angle shots. It's just that I've found they can often be quite impersonal. So what I've done when I'm photographing those moments these days, I want to make sure that I've prepared the people who are in the photograph. And I'll say to them, guys, now's not a time to talk about credit card bills or, you know, whatever, like someone who didn't turn up to the wedding who should have been there, whatever it was. I want you to take in these surroundings. And I want you to hear, can you hear your guests in the background partying, waiting for you? Can you feel the heartbeat of the person you're holding? What does the lapel of his jacket feel like? What does that material feel like? What birds might you be able to hear chirping? What does that breeze feel like on your skin? What does it feel like to feel, you know, a wedding ring on your partner's finger? What does his beard feel like today?
sexy.
Yeah, dead set. But I want to just connect them to the space they're in. And then that photo will now remind them of the connection. Like if I'm going to do that big wide angle shot, which, as I said, nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
Beautiful, wonderful reminder for the wall that, you know, you'll be taken back to that moment. But let's make sure there's a moment that they can be taken back to. So sometimes we've actually got to take a moment to prepare people rather than, hey guys, just go for a walk. You know?
Yeah.
Left, right, a little bit more, go back.
I've learned a lot, Beth, because we could definitely start implementing this into
Absolutely.
into our game, because we take photos on a more personal level, and this could just really one up it. I would have to develop a very loving and FM radio voice accent like that. It's really because as you're talking, I can't help, James, to think that like when I first started, like Jerry Giannis was my hero, and he always had the ability to just start kind of slow talking, chunk down his words, add the accent, call everyone darling. And you're like, yes, absolutely. This has to be a beautiful photo because it's a beautiful moment. And I think all too often, especially on wedding days, you get caught up with the craziness. There's not always time to say, guys, take a deep breath, soak this in for a minute because this is it. And of course, inevitably we hear every wedding, boy, that was so fast. Everything happened so fast. Yeah. And so we do reveal sessions with our clients, and it's always a great reminder. Wow, I didn't even know that was happening. But we can certainly use this in our own photography, Beth.
Absolutely.
Can I suggest as well?
Go ahead.
These aren't things that you need to practice. And the way that you can do these things effectively is just by asking better questions. So, you know, you could say, look into each other's eyes and ponder life or whatever it is, right? Like just a general sort of prompt. But if you can actually say, hey, like, I know this about you and I know this is important to you. Let's take a moment to reflect on that thing that you've told me and make it personal to them. Like one of the most beautiful moments, I can think of so many actually as I say that. I can think of so many beautiful moments where I've been able to reference something that they've previously told me about a family member or a situation. So, and then use that moment that you're photographing to honor that thing that's important to them.
Yeah.
So it might be like a past family member. It could be their first date where they had an absolute blast. Like, you know, I want you to imagine you're back in that moment. You know, and you saw, you asked previously to see a photo of their first date because they went out to a theme park or whatever, and you're like, I want you to remember, you're wearing that red dress, you're wearing that beautiful blue suit. I want you to go back to that moment, and just so that people in that moment, they feel like they're being seen because you've remembered. So I think that there's no need for blanket practiced, rehearsed statements that are said in a certain way. It's literally just going, hey, I care about you. Let's create some beautiful moments here that reflect on these things that are important to you.
Babe, I know sometimes we try to be funny and make people laugh and we can still do that, but not even changing, but just adding some of these suggestions. I think
it's a whole new level.
Yeah.
But I think that the funny stuff is wonderful too. Don't skip that.
Right.
Life is so serious. Life is difficult. Those funny times that you can take people back to, people want to go back to those fun, crazy times when something hilarious was being said. So I wouldn't take what I'm saying and be like, oh, we have to get really serious.
Right.
It's more just let's help them experience something that they want to be taken back to.
Right.
And a lot of the time that's stupid stuff that is running around being idiots.
Mm-hmm.
Getting naked on a dance floor.
That's what I was about to say. What's that song again?
Eagle Rock.
Eagle Rock. Well, James, you really floored me today. Usually you're just a hilarious dude, but now when you get all serious, I'm like, shit, I need to be working harder. So, it's incredible.
Totally inspired.
I'd love to have you on again for an update sometime in the future when you come back to the States. Even
or
better.
When we go to Australia.
I know, when we go to Australia. Tasmania, New Zealand.
When we go to his street.
Now, Kiwis, that's New Zealand.
Correct.
Okay, just gotta get my...
Tanzania, though? Is that what you said?
Tasmania.
That's in Africa, isn't it? Tasmania.
I love
Tasmania. That's what I meant.
Yeah, I was just saying I was telling these guys before we started recording, I think I don't live in Tasmania, but I'm going to take Kath there for our 10-year wedding anniversary in December. It's so underrated. So it's the little island at the bottom of...
What are you looking forward to doing there?
I can imagine.
Really? You need to... No, I was kidding. Hey, you're asking me what I do in my spare
Here's
time.
Beth.
Is this the same
Here's the crickets
thing?
after Beth's question.
It's our wedding anniversary.
They're going golfing, Beth.
Yeah.
He's bringing the clubs
Oh my.
and the balls. Sorry.
I do have nuts stuck in my teeth.
Listen to this woman. Okay, that's a wrap. James, where can people find you online? James Day Photography, Instagram.
So Instagram's James Day Weddings. Facebook is, I think that. I don't know. If you type in James Day and hope for the best and see if something pops up.
That's where they'll find you.
Yep. That'll do.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having
You're the
me.
best. As always, subscribe, please. In this corner, underneath Beth's butt, here will be the subscribe. No, wait. I think it's this corner.
Uh-oh.
Shit.
Under James' butt.
Please subscribe. So we need all the views you can get. If you do subscribe to the Seth and Beth channel, all of your wildest dreams will come true, James. I didn't know if you knew that, but we guarantee it. Thanks for watching, Beth. Thanks for watching, Beth, and thanks for coming on, James. See you guys.
Thank
Thank you.